Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Anthony Defoe, and I am here with Felicia Holder. And welcome to PEP Talks in the morning. Yes, that's right. So, what's going on, Felicia?
Bright and early, we're here again. Day
Yes.
2, waking up. How was it for you?
Horrible.
I keep telling myself once you get past that first 15 minutes where you just don't want to roll off
Yeah.
the bed, it'll be okay.
Girl, that is so real.
Listen.
Rain falling up north this morning, and let me tell you, it was the hardest thing to get off the bed.
Same thing. So I experimenting with different ways to do this. I'm like, maybe one morning I should try really cold water to just shock my system and wake me up. Tried that this morning. After the first dip, I was like, I'm good.
You good? I can't do that.
I'm real good. Can't definitely.
Oh my
not
goodness.
Able.
It is well, it's a somewhat rainy morning up north here. Well, not in the entire north, at least I'm not sure of, at least for our destination into Port of Spain. But yeah, it's another day. Lots happening in Trinidad and Tobago. Felicia, I mean, is just where can we start this morning, girl? I mean, really.
Start. So in preparation for the show, I've been trying. I realize I have the morning voice, and I was accusing Philip of yesterday. So bear with me while my voice comes into normal mode. I was trying to catch up on some stories, some news headlines to discuss this morning, because I mean it's the start of the day, and maybe this is a place where people are going to get some of their news.
So
I
where to
do
choose
want to
from.
get in the habit of bringing some papers so we can go through the headlines. Though, but there was one that stood out because we spoke about it yesterday, the coronavirus.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh yes, there's a piece of madness going on with that.
I read the response from
What?
the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
What are we doing?
Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, and that was the last thing I read before bed last night, and I had to read it twice because I was trying to understand where this man was actually coming from. Apparently, well, it's related to I believe 120 TNT nationals who are based abroad in China.
In China, right.
now. And I did not read the previous news reports, but apparently this may be incorrect, but they are saying that they have not heard from the TNT embassy with regards to possible evacuation of their citizens.
Really?
Of themselves. And there's been little to no contact with the embassy, TNT embassy. And I was reading the Crocus Bag of Ass. I think he automatically won the award already. The week is not over, but I think he's definitely the frontline runner for this. Because this man, when I open the article, he talks so much nonsense. I can't understand how he really became. I don't want to say how he became, because then we could question a lot of positions right now in the current government.
Oh yeah, all positions actually.
But all positions. But I have to ask, what do these people think their jobs are?
I have no idea because they're not safeguarding our own citizenry that's on the shores of Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, we've had this thing publicized on all news media outlets around the world, especially highlighting the concern of this new strain of virus. And what are we doing as a nation proactively, especially now in this season of carnival that we're dealing with, where we have so many foreigners coming into the country? Do we have a proper vetting process at our ports, whether it be on the seaports or at the airports? And what is that system entailing directly as far as the safety of not just our citizens, the workers at these facilities, and even the passengers coming off, whether it be from plane or boat. There's no direct discussion about it. There's no direct information being put into the public space as to there's minimal information going out there, but still the proactive movements that needs to take place by the state, by government, I'm not seeing them doing anything directly to safeguard our citizens.
They're not, and for some reason I can't access the entire article. I'll probably need to get back my phone from master control. But I do remember what the article was about.
Well, I have something here where the government the government has donated thousands of masks to China to help control the coronavirus outbreak. Minister of Foreign Affairs and CARICOM Affairs Dennis Moses told the media yesterday that the donation included 13,600 N95 respirator masks, 1,000 N95 surgical masks, and 400 other masks. The masks were valued at 150,000 TT. There are two Trinidad and Tobago nationals at the heart of the outbreak of the virus in China. But the point is, we are spending this money to send to China.
I was about to ask that question. We possibly purchased those same masks from China.
You understand what's happening here?
To send them back to China. I mean, I'm not sure where we procure these from, but that seemed like a weird thing for us to send to China.
Even beyond being weird, you have to keep in mind we are taking loans from a country such as China, which is a well-developed country. It's a very rich economy, which in my mind, I think that they're able to deal with their own affairs. They basically need no help from anyone.
But they aren't, the way they have I mean, like in the article that I read, Moses was praising the Chinese government for their handling of the situation as compared to our handling of the situation, where right now, according to him, in terms of evacuation, citizens need to ask to be evacuated.
Yeah.
That's not really something that governments offer. That's a burp.
Insanity.
This is in the midst of Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia pulling their citizens out of the country. He did go on to say, however, that citizens were free to buy tickets and return home if they were so inclined. But back to your mask story though. How many did they purchase? 1,000? 13,000?
13,600.
What is the population of China?
That's the
population of China is not close
like a billion or something. Yeah. They're I think one of the largest populations on planet Earth.
So we donated a drop in the bucket.
Not even a drop, girl. This is like a condensed pellet of
a mist of vapor.
That's basically. But what just is mind blowing for me is, again, we are a country that our leaders are indicating that we don't have money. The economy is under stress. There's so much deficiency taking place across the board. People not being able to get work, not being able to get paid, back pay. We're not able to get supplies to the hospitals, tools to the police service, and just the host of issues we are dealing with as a nation. And yet you have the said government that's taking monies that we just simply don't even have to spend on ourselves, and we are sending it to a place like China. And again, I keep saying that China is able to deal with their affairs. They have the economics to deal with their affairs at their capacity and their scale in the way that they would like to. And I really want to know, what is 13,000 masks really going to do?
Well, right now I am Googling the price of a plane ticket from China to Tobago. China to Trinidad and Tobago. Because that $150,000 that we just purchased in masks, could we have purchased plane tickets to return our citizens home?
Good question. Very, very good question. And even the bigger question on top of that is, how are we able to treat with our citizens coming back into the country? What is the vetting process? What are we doing directly? As the Ministry of Health, what do you actually have in place at the ports? These are questions that we really, really have to ask and hopefully get an answer, because at the end of the day, it's our own health that's at risk, literally. It's not something that is set on our own locally here. It's something that's coming into the country, and again, what are the measures being put into place to safeguard our population and our people that is frontline defense? That's basically what it is. it's just mind blowing to think that these are people who are in public office that have masters, bachelors, and so on, and this is the type of motions that they are taking. This is the type of measures they are taking, which is barely any at all. I am just really, really disturbed, and I'm hoping, praying that we do not, as a nation, have to deal with any type of outbreak taking place on the ground here in Trinidad and Tobago, because honestly, we are not prepared to deal with this type of situation on the ground here in Trinidad and Tobago. We're not, because even without the outbreak, and we have any minor situation taking place on the ground, we are struggling just to deal with that. So far as an outbreak taking place on the shores of Trinidad and Tobago, how are we going to treat with it? That is the disturbing factor for me, and I feel very much at risk as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago being here on the shores, because again, the government, I feel, is not safeguarding my safety, my family's safety, the citizenry safety. So that is a major issue at hand right now.
To be honest, when I first heard about the virus, like many skeptics, I watched and I waited and I saw the panic and the cancel the carnival and the ban Chinese citizens from entering the country, and I tried to remain very calm about the situation, because there tends to be, well, at least I have experienced in my lifetime, a couple of pandemic scares that you could say. There was Ebola at one point. Remember when the whole world thought that Ebola was going to just consume all of us and kill everybody? And there was a similar panic surrounding the Ebola virus, as well as there was another one, SARS as well, which is another strain of the coronavirus. Well, one that I don't need medical terms, but I know they're all related in the influenza category. And like I said, I waited for the information, and it started to come as these things happen. It has actually now killed more people. I believe the death toll is 1,014 or 1,020 people, which is more than SARS had managed to kill. I can't confirm for Ebola. I'm sure those facts and figures are online. The World Health Organization came out and said we have a situation happening right now. It's a crisis. Philip was saying yesterday that Amazon and Google, I believe, are lot of one of the biggest tech.
That's right.
And I mean, it's not about buying into panic, but it's also about securing the well-being of your citizens.
This is it.
The well-being of your citizens. And I mean, the fact that we are literally erring on the side of, you know what, stay in China, you're all good there for the while, rather than prevention is better than cure. I think it's the biggest concern for me, because we don't know what can happen. We don't know where it can go. I just Googled it. It will cost about $700,000 to get all 120 citizens back. Yeah, it's about $6,000 for a one-way ticket. Let's divide that by $120,000. We could have brought back at least, my math is off. My math is way off right now. So let's not look at my math right now. It's way off, but we could have brought back some citizens for sure. For sure. And I mean, again, the fact that we chose, I don't want to say we, because I'm not lumping myself in that madness, but the fact that we have a government that doesn't seem to know what it's doing, where it's going, the response to the coronavirus so far is one where we seem clueless. And will this really to hit our shores, as many people have been scared about and anticipating? Like I said, I traveled to Tobago last week, and the entire airport, they masked down, and that's because people are legitimately afraid. They're afraid because they don't have access to information as well. I had to go online and read a lot about what it is, who is mainly affected. And if you look at these statistics, actually, it's really people. Philip said it yesterday, people with lower immune systems who are more susceptible.
The elderly, children, and so on.
Yeah, so the fact that the information is not being put out there, citizens are not being made aware of what is happening. Those abroad in China, again, they are reportedly not they don't have contact with the embassy. It just shows a complete lack of management, a complete lack of leadership on their part.
And responsibility.
And responsibility.
Yeah, because that's a huge responsibility. You having an embassy offshore of Trinidad and Tobago in whatever country, and you have a situation like this taking place, and yet the embassy in itself was not directed by central government from Trinidad and Tobago to have certain protocols in place proactively. Again, and we talk about Ebola and all these other viruses that we've come across in our recent history. But when you look at the global response where the first world countries are concerned, they did what was necessary in order to safeguard their citizens, get the information, do the research, and come up with solutions. All of this happening proactively. Why do we, as a nation, third richest economy in the Western Hemisphere, all the resources that we have and all the people that we call leaders that's supposed to have all this education and masters and bachelors and all of this, why are we not being leaders ourselves? Why do we still insist on being followers and instead of being proactive, we are being reactive? We are waiting for something to happen in order for us to actually have that addressed. And why you do that? Why put the citizens at risk? Why not simply take proactive measures and safeguard our citizenry from the get-go, from the start? I don't know, man. I am just so... I cringe every time I think of this. Every time I think of the way that we deal with our affairs as a nation, boy. It just does not make sense. It does not make sense. And you said just now that you don't want to bring yourself into the mix saying that we did that. But in true essence, we as a nation, yes, is doing it, because we are the ones yet on the ground that may not agree with it and still choose to stay quiet, still choose not to take any direct initiative on ourselves to step to the government, to step to the state and demand answers, demand certain protocols and actions taken, at least to safeguard again the citizenry. That is what it is. We are too silent as a nation, man. The slightest thing happening in the US or Canada or England or any one of these nations, no matter how small it might be, you find the population rallying together and speaking in that one voice and putting what they have on their minds into the public space and letting the government know what is going on and that they don't approve of whatever that situation might be. When are we going to get there? When are we going to actually wake up and say, listen, let's forget about all the Indo and Afro politics and all the other bacchanal that takes place and all that clutter that we choose to always run down, and really stick to the issues that we as citizens are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Literally, we still continue to talk behind closed doors, and it's just beyond me. Trinidad and Tobago, we need to wake up and we have to take responsibility for our own country. Again, we are putting people into public office to seek the benefit of the citizenry as a whole, whether it be through economics, whether it be through healthcare, whether it be through education, whether it be through security. The point of the matter is, whether it be through works, we are not simply having anyone walk into that parliament just like that. We are nominating and electing people to speak and to deal with our affairs on our behalf. And we just can't continue to go down the road that we're going down, because again, we just continuously put ourselves at risk with just about every instance, and we just need to bring that to a stop, really and truly. And yes, I'm thankful for the Progressive Empowerment Party trying to enlighten the population, trying to give the population that information that is needed for them to actually make better decisions. But we are doing our part. It's you, Trinidad and Tobago, that has to take the next step in doing your part. And that part of not staying quiet anymore, letting your voices be heard, and us speaking in one voice, literally. That's what we need to do. So yeah, what else do we have on the agenda here?
There's just one last thing I wanted to add. I remember I was wondering, what was this man's portfolio? Like, the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs seems like a very well highfalutin, fancy title to say and do what, because I never really understood what was his job. But if you ask me, this and the handling of this situation if ever time to step up to the plate, it should have been now. And I guess, like the others, he has proven.
I don't even think the man knows what his portfolio entails, because if you're a minister of foreign affairs, that's the key word here. Foreign affairs. All right, so anything foreign you'd have to deal with directly, and again, being proactive. You are the custodian of bringing in foreign investment in promoting Trinidad and Tobago to the world, in dealing with whether it be international, regional issues that we may be entwined with. What are we really doing, man? What?
Let's move on. I did not want to mention this yesterday because I know crime seems and killing seems to be. It seems to be. I don't think there's been a day so far that I have not heard about it, and it's common now. You don't even bother. You don't flinch, and every time I say that, I feel bad and I feel sad for the victims and the victims' families who have fallen, victim to crime as a big and serious concern as it is right now in our country. And yesterday there was some stories about murders, and I completely, like I said, I blew past it because that has become the norm. Yet at the end of the day, it should never be the norm. Crime should never be something that okay. And the fact that it is very, very, very telling of where and who we are as a society. The fact that crime is being committed and murders happening, but citizens still fetting and reveling.
Yeah,
it says a lot. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this story, which has since updated, is 4 people killed in 24 hours, 4 in a vehicle in South Trinidad. And
yes, I was reading that article last night, actually.
And a double murder in Arima. I'm not reading. A schoolgirl was stabbed in Belmont, my stomping ground, my home. A schoolgirl was stabbed in Belmont late yesterday evening. I don't want to believe that this young woman died. I hope not. But a schoolgirl. And even more in line with what I was going to talk about, because the story that I read yesterday was the 4 people, young people, Anthony. The ages didn't cross 23 years old.
Sad.
The youngest was 17 years old, and the 17-year-old was the one who managed to crawl out of the vehicle, and I believe was shot repeatedly, managed to make it to the hospital facility alive, but then died, I guess, either on arrival or during surgery or something like that. And that was what stood out to me more so than the murders themselves, is that the ages of these people getting killed and being involved in crime now. Because these stories are going to come out. You're going to hear why they were there, what they were doing, who they are.
Yeah, everybody want to talk about the reasoning, how they did what and who did,
whether they were the criminals or not the criminals. But what people fail to realize is that even the criminals, and this might be hard for some people to wrap their minds around, but even the criminals are victims of this broken society.
But they are. You have to keep in mind too. You just asked the question. How do we have such young people being involved in crime? But when you have a large portion of our student population failing the system and not having any hope or opportunity or direction in which to go after coming out of school, what is the next step that they have to move towards? They're seeing everything on Facebook, on social media, who have nice shoes, nice car, nice clothes, and they want those things too. It's a natural thing that humans want. Yes, it is. And when you're seeing that taking place and you want to be out there in that, want to have the new treads and shoes and all that good stuff, and you don't have any hope and opportunity, you don't have a job, you don't have money in your pocket, you will look at the next available item that presents itself to you. And if it's a drug man on the block or finding yourself in a gang, we are not looking directly at the cause of why our people are doing what they are doing. Perfect example pertaining towards this guy that killed his daughter. That in itself was horrific. You heard after that he was abusive and so on. But again, the systems that we have via the state, whether it be the social arm of the state, it's not working to the best of its ability, simply because there's a lot of cracks that our citizenry are falling through. And we have these situations taking place in the public space that our citizens are directly exposed to, and yet we don't have anything that can address that directly. You talk about the police service. Where is their social arm? How efficient is the social arm of the police service?
Yeah, but we can't just rock it back on the police service alone. And I'm not saying that you are rocking it back, but the job of the police service is supposed to be to uphold the law, to protect and serve the people. And while I agree there should be arms within the police service that are competent and trained to deal with issues such as intervention in an abusive family situation, the majority of the work lies in the Ministry of Social Development,
that's
Youth
right.
Development, to ensure that these family and living situations are that ensure we have citizens who are growing up to be mature, responsible human beings who understand empathy, and that's so severely lacking, who understand empathy, who understand that there are repercussions for their actions. And I wrote it down while you were talking. We spoke about 3 separate stories that literally show the progression of a criminal. We spoke about the child that was abused. We spoke about the school situation yesterday where we had violence in the school. And then we spoke about the murders today. Look at that 10-year-old boy who survived that situation with his father and his sister, where his sister was killed and his father hung himself. 10 years old. 10 or 13. I mean, if he's 13 years old. 13 years old, 14 years old, and 17 years old. That child being exposed to that abusive situation, being exposed to that trauma, and they say trauma in children molds them into who they are as adults.
That's right.
At 10 years old, experiencing that kind of trauma, then progressing into school, the same children that in Baratare East Secondary School that we wanted to, that a lot of people wash their hands off, them children bad, they can't be helped. People not understanding that these children have a backstory. Anytime, I'm telling you, Anthony, take any one of those troubled children, any one of those bullies, any one of those involved in violence, that young lady who went and break the teacher windshield after she spoke to her, look into her family life, and I can almost guarantee you something is not right.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And again, that's where the social arm of the state needs to be implemented on a greater scale. Because we have no idea in most cases what's happening behind closed doors in a child's home. We just don't. And when you look at the level of frustration that the population is dealing with, for example, these same children's parents or whoever the guardian might be, again, we are living in a society that it's deficient, or our money have no worth. It's just a constant level of stress, being in traffic. I mean, nothing is working in Trinidad and Tobago literally to keep the citizenry somewhat at ease, somewhat happy, like a happy index. We've spoken about that before. But again, we do not have a happy population. In fact, the tool that's used is all the holidays and festival times that we can find to just get drunk and wind down the place and be numb. And that's just what it is. That's what our population does. Is why partying and the bars scene and the nightlife is such a big thing in Trinidad and Tobago. It's not so much that we are happy people on an island, because when you go to other islands, you realize what happy people on an island really is.
Look like.
Really. You go Barbados, Antigua, and these places, and you would not. It's a totally different landscape. Really and truly, the mentality is different. Everything. I mean, you can see people having a level of pride, and it's. Trinidadians, they are in pain, they are unhappy, they are stressed and frustrated, and the government of the day, any government for that matter, Their job is to help that situation, to make our citizens happy, to make us be able to deal with our everyday tasks. It should not be you pulling your hair out just to go from home to work, having to sit into traffic an hour and a half, 2 hours for a 20-minute drive. Why are we so inefficient and creating such a level of frustration among the population? And it's not rocket science to fix Trinidad and Tobago, to make the things work for the citizenry. Literally, it's not hard, Trinidad and Tobago. We just need to have the people in place to actually get the job done. We just simply need to have the right laws and the information out into the public space so people know exactly what is what and how things are supposed to work, where your rights lie. We just can't continuously go down this road because the news is sickening. I don't have any desire to open up any news feed, because what you get for news is heartbreaking. I ask myself all the time, what am I really doing in Trinidad and Tobago? And that's as far as I can get because I can't call anywhere else home. And I mean, really, 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 how are we going to move this forward in changing the minds of the people? Why are we still insistent on simply jamming just so, it can't be like that, man. It cannot be like that. And, we cannot wait for a major situation or a major disaster to take place on the shores of Trinidad and Tobago to now want to be proactive. We talked how many times before concerning flooding in Trinidad and Tobago. It's not now Trinidad is flooding, but how many measures are being put into place systematically on an ongoing basis to alleviate that problem, to address that problem. We talk about we not having 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365-day a year water supply across the board in Trinidad and Tobago in 2020. Why are we still dealing with those issues and that situation? An island surrounded by water, 6 months out of the year, it's rainfall, flooding the whole nation. What are we really doing? We talk about crime, all this murders and guns and drugs in Trinidad and Tobago. The first step is securing the borders. Stop the guns, drugs, and human trafficking coming in and out of the shores of Trinidad and Tobago. Securing the borders, now we can put major resource on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago in dealing with the crime issues that we are faced with as a nation, as a citizenry. It's not rocket science. I mean, yes, people want Gary to be the savior of all. But again, there's only so much Gary can do, because if he does not have all of the funding as well as all of the tools necessary in order to get the job done right and efficiently, what are we doing? We're just spinning wheels in mud.
Spinning wheels in mud. And I have to read it because I found the paragraph with the 16-year-old that was stabbed. And just to progress, because we spoke about the 13-year-old being abused, and then the 14-year-old who acting out now in school, and then when that child eventually is expelled or fails out of school, we find that they are now the 17-year-old victim that we see crawling around or crawling outside of the car in what was an apparent shootout situation. And again, this is the progression of a failed society, from birth to literal death. And it's so crazy how these three separate stories and within 2 days literally showed and mapped out our entire failure in terms of protecting our citizens, in terms of having proper social development and welfare for our citizens. And I want to read this story because for all those who wash them out on the bad students and those who from failed schools and those who we turn our backs on and say they're bad and we don't care about them anymore. This student, I'll read the paragraph. A 16-year-old girl was stabbed yesterday afternoon shortly after she left the compound of Providence Girls College. I don't know if anybody knows, or most people should know, Providence College is considered a prestige. Well, actually, it's considered one of the prestige schools. If you look at a cross-section of the students, they come from a lot of well-to-do families.
Right.
And it's not a school you will typically expect to have a story like this coming from. Police said about 3 p.m., This was yesterday. A teenager was standing at the corner of Bella Road and Belmont Circular Road, where she was attacked by two female students from another school. She was stabbed 3 times with a compass, an instrument from a geometry set. The girl was taken to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where she is warded in a serious but stable condition. Of course, we don't know what was the reason behind this altercation. Right. I highly doubt that two girls randomly. I mean, I can't say what was the point behind it, but there seemed to have been some kind of backstory to it. And the reason why I said we can't wash our mouths and forget the so-called bad students or the ones who we can't help, because inevitably they have to mingle with your children. That's they have to mingle with people in society. It's not like they grew up in a vacuum, and we not living in a vacuum either. Every time you send your children out, every time you go out, you are exposing yourself to what can be a very dangerous situation. And to forget about the ones that we don't care about is to literally be making your own bed for situations like this to happen, because 2 to 1, 2 girls to 1. We don't know what was going on or what is going on in the households of these students. We don't know what's going on in the household of the 16-year-old either. But in essence, we're not looking at fixing the problem behind violence in schools. And again, we can't just say some schools bad and some not bad, because Providence is a so-called, like I said, prestige school. But that didn't stop her from being a victim to a crime being committed by another school. It didn't stop her from being another victim in society. And I mean, I'm glad to hear that she is stable, but at the end of the day, this is another traumatic experience that no child should have to experience.
Very true.
No 16-year-old walking out of a school compound should have to be exposed to crime like that. And I have to come back to my math question. I worked it out. I'm so ashamed. We could have literally paid for 25 of our nationals to come home. At least the 2 in the epicenter of the virus outbreak right now, which is where most of the deaths has happened.
And as you were talking just now with the track of how we're able to see what our youths and stuff is dealing with, we even talk about an issue that was brought up to me last week actually, where our citizens, when they are arrested, sitting in remand yard years, can't get a court case. If they had pleaded guilty, they would have already been out. We are dealing with I don't even know what to say again.
Anthony, that remand yard situation, it's so sad. But literally, the walls outside of that prison literally is probably the only thing keeping us from paying real and close attention to that, because many of us, I don't know about you, but I have never really known anybody to be arrested for any serious crime. And I've never been exposed to the jail situation, but from the things that I hear about it though,
it's crazy.
It is absolutely crazy, and we are literally committing human crime atrocities against our people. A lady called me. She called the PEP phone about 2 weeks ago in desperation. It was a Tuesday. I remember getting that call bright and early in the morning. She was actually outside of remand yard. No, I lie. Sorry, she was in court. She was in the magistrate's court in San Fernando, waiting for her husband or boyfriend or common-law husband to appear in court. She said for the past year or 2 years, sorry if my details are a little off, but it was along the lines of her boyfriend or husband being incarcerated and in remand yard for over a year. I know that for certain. And every time he's supposed to come into court, they're not bringing him down for whatever reason. And the police officers, the ones who charged him, they don't come to court. So every time there's a court date, they're not there, he's not there, and the case gets stamped and put off
Yeah.
for another time. And while on file and on paper, this is just another case 92486 or whatever, just a serial document number for some people. These are people's lives, literally.
Yes, and these people have families, and it's the system is not working for the benefit of the citizen. And here at PEP, we say, look, let justice take its course, but in the same breath, developing the social arm of the state, being able, because again, one of our policies is we would like to create upstanding citizens from people who were even arrested, with different type of programs and policies putting in place in helping that situation, helping the citizen themselves. We have a lot of youths that's uneducated, being able to offer programs within the prison system to help educate these young people, give them a chance for the state to create models and bodies that can help these said citizens coming out of prison, if their time were reduced due to them acquiring a master's or a bachelor's or a doctorate or what the case might be in prison. Yes, we're saying this. Educate our people. That's what we need. We have too much illiteracy on the ground in Trinidad. Too many people just simply falling out of the system, literally. I mean, we talk about the student body. We have out of 22,000, close to, 7,000 students that's failing the system. I mean, that's a large number of people. That's a large number of young people being inserted into the population every single year that have no hope and opportunity, that don't have a direction to go, that is not able to acquire a job, and have no other choice than to look at crime. And we're wondering, why is crime getting worse as time goes on? Well, we are indicating certain areas where we can see where crime is being fueled. What are we doing proactively for that? The state is not doing anything directly. It's all about talk. It's all about show and stunting, as Philip likes to say. But that's just basically what it is, and we take that and swallow it down, and we should not. We need to seek the interest of every citizen on the ground, and we need to understand exactly what every citizen is dealing with. We have situations where large portions of the population, we can determine exactly what they're dealing with, but there are other situations that we have to go down directly to the citizen themselves individually in scrutinizing what they're doing, what they're dealing with, and just the whole ensemble of life in itself for our people. I mean, how are we able to help this situation? $60 billion budgets. Look, we are supposed to be able to do a world more for our citizens with a budget like this, but yet
we're not.
We're not.
And just to tack back on the situation, no longer haven't used that term, tack back. The situation with the young woman who called me. She has 2 children, and I believe they were waiting outside of the court, or she left them home. God, my details were all hazy, but I just know for a fact that she said she told her kids that daddy was coming home today. Because I believe it's a bail hearing or something.
Right.
No. Gosh, my details really off. It was like, I know the details, but I'm mixing it up a little bit. But I know it was a hearing to, I believe if the police officers did not turn up again, they weren't to drop the case. The officers didn't turn up, but he also did not turn up. He wasn't sent to court that day for whatever reason. And of course, the mother is extremely frustrated because she has her 2 children to think about, and it's been over a year. And I remember explaining to somebody, these are the things and the backstories that people don't look at when they see 10 months down the road, this woman gets arrested for stealing a loaf of bread and a block of cheese in the grocery. Because this woman, who is now unable to provide for her family, sees no other means to provide for them than to steal. And those will, and the pious ones will jump on, no, she can get a job and she can. we don't know
what her situation is
don't
at
know
home.
what her situation is at home. And the woman who called me, she explained that he was the main breadwinner for the family. And we have plenty situations like that where women are dependent on their husbands, their boyfriends, their common-law husbands, because that's just how they grew up, or it's just a situation that they have grown accustomed to. And yes, of course, you can seize the bull by the horns and step up and learn a trade and empower yourselves and get a job. But the reality is it's not that easy. And to judge based on a circumstance that we have never been exposed to, that many of us will never be exposed to, I believe is unfair as citizens. And we really need to, that empathy that I spoke about earlier, that is lacking. We have a lot of people who just don't understand and they don't care, and they don't know what it is like to experience real poverty
Very
in
true.
this country, and they will never have to. And that's great. I mean, nobody should ever have to experience real poverty, but you see it when you visit remote places in Trinidad. You don't even have to visit remote places anymore. There are
Very
people
true.
who are suffering in silence, who have been left behind by a system that failed them at birth, at the education level, at the tertiary level, at the jobs level. We have failed them, and now we are seeing the byproducts of that failure in our society.
Very true. I want to just read out a little comment here by one of our viewers on the live, Stephen Downer.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Stephen. How you going? And he was saying, if citizens get penalized if they do not appear in court to answer a case, why are not police officers equally penalized for
Thank you
non-appearance?
very
And
much.
that is a no-brainer thing there, brother. And that's well said, definitely. And we agree with that. We agree with that because
Agreed,
again,
he hit the nail
on
the
the
head
head,
there.
yeah.
Because I have to add this. When she found out that he wasn't coming to court that day, because the magistrate actually had a video conference with the jail, and I was shocked. I said, we have those capabilities. She said yes, they did they video conference him in, and that's where she asked, why didn't they bring him to court? And the magistrate told her, what you want me to do about that? And I thought, the same capabilities where the magistrate was able to communicate with the jailers and remand yard to find out that he wasn't going to be brought into court today, couldn't they have handled the same case over that video conference? Isn't this what developed nations do?
That's right.
Especially if I know in Canada, for certain, and I experienced it. Well, not I experienced it, but I was actually exposed to the workings and the internal workings of the justice system when I visited there about 2 years ago. And I walked into some of the courtrooms where they had the video conference capabilities, and they say, yeah, especially Canada, it's so huge and the landmass is so big that you can't be driving prisoners back and forth like
Madness.
we do.
Like we do, yes, like we do,
Like
which we
we
can
do.
save. Build the bloody court outside of the prison, for crying out loud.
Which we can save.
Where we can save what, $190 million? I mean, really?
20 billions of dollars. We have spent
Oh my gosh.
billions of dollars in shuttling prisoners up and down to court dates that keep getting deferred.
Yeah, it doesn't make
Somebody's
sense.
making, and we know that somebody's making a lot
of money, yes.
to do this.
Yes. I want to just read another comment here from on the live from Sheriff Ali. He says, how does the PEP intend to recover all the hundreds of millions of dollars of our money that political parties blatantly stole and put into personal bank accounts in this and other countries, and invested in our land, buildings, etc.? Is that even possible, or do we just let them get away with that? Please answer the country would like to know. While we suffer and others live it up. And Mr. Ali, you hit a real good point there. And yes, we are planning to pursue the nation's
follow the money.
Follow the money. We were looking for the money, and once the courts can determine misbehavior in public office, whichever period that was, yes, we would like to go and get that money back and bring it back to the treasury for the citizenry to benefit from it, not an individual, not someone that was put there by the citizenry to conduct the country's affairs and business on their behalf. So yes, Mr. Ali, we are putting things in place. We have some policies and protocols that we will be rolling out, us getting into office, where we will be going in search of what monies has been stolen from that treasury. Because we are doing a proper audit on Trinidad and Tobago and every state body from the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago and its affairs, in determining exactly where hemorrhaging has been taking place, where monies has been diverted to, what cost factors were for state projects across the board, no matter how big, no matter how small. Again, we need to know exactly where we are as a nation, know where our debt is, know exactly what the potential, well, we have a clear idea as to what the potential of our country is in developing our GDP and putting a bigger stamp on that area where we can bring in more money, at least make more money as a nation. But outside of that, the money that's been stolen from our treasury, yes, we will be running after those dollar bills, most definitely. No matter where it is in the world, we will be having conversations and dialogue with different countries around the world, in seeing what can actually be done legally on our part, country to country dialogue, in trying to recover what money's been stolen from that treasury, from the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that's the bottom line. We are the first entity, the first political vehicle that is very strong on that point. And again, we need money to develop Trinidad and Tobago, and we could be 10 times better than what we are right now, had we not have all this hemorrhaging in our economy from the treasury. If monies were spent the right way, efficiently, cost effectively, not overpriced and ballooned, again, to allow people to be able to skim off the top and steal your money, Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So yes, Mr. Ali, we are planning to go after every situation that we can prove in a court of law, indicating there is misbehavior in public office by any office holder at any period and stage of our nation's history in our independence, us having independence. So I hope that answers your question right there.
I just want to remind callers that remind viewers that we are opening the lines for your calls now. If you want to call in at 347-4737 or 688-4012, you can ask your questions live online, chat with us, live on the phone.
Yeah.
This is the 347 number, to operate. Well, that's your brand, Motorola, of course.
No, it's not.
Of course you know how to operate it. You see, today we supporting
you're knocking me on my Motorola.
I was watching the rerun of the video we did last night. I was just cracking up over that part.
Yeah, that was funny.
Where I reminded you that you forgot.
Gosh. What's that number again?
347-4737.
Yeah,
it's
give
a
us a
digital
call.
number if you want to call from a digital, or 688-4012. Don't just leave me and Anthony talking to ourselves. Call and talk to us. Say
Yes.
good morning. We really need some coffee for this.
That is so real.
This morning's show.
Wake her up.
Master control.
No, but again, it's this is not all just pie in the sky. I've had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, that sounds like a pie in the sky." No, it does not sound like a pie in the sky. When they were talking about going to the moon, they were saying that was a pie in the sky too. But guess what? We got there, didn't we? We have satellites in space, don't we? The point is that we just need to have determination in getting what we need to have done. We just need to have the will to have it done. We just simply need to have the people in place that is willing to get the job done. End of story. End of story. Because you can't have other places and models around the world and it works just fine and perfectly there, and yet we are trying to find excuses as to why things don't work here. It's exactly that. It's an excuse. It's people who are not willing to accept the responsibility that's been handed to them, and not wanting to give the level of transparency and accountability to the public, to their employers, which is the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and that's what it is. Again, us here at the Progressive Empowerment Party, we are regular citizens. We are not political. We are not politicians. You know what I mean? We are regular citizens that's been on the sideline for years and seen generations come and go, waiting for that change, asking for that change, hoping for that change, and still to this day has not gotten that change. We are saying here at the Progressive Empowerment Party, the change is here. We are here. You are here. This is here for you, Trinidad and Tobago. It's not here for anyone else. It's not here for Barbados, for America, for Canada. It's not here for nowhere else in the world but Trinidad and Tobago. We are here to seek the better interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because we know things can be better. We know that for a fact.
Before we go for a break, because I know overdue for a break. Is that true? Yeah, overdue for a break. I wanted to read this post from our from Anne-Marie Dulal, who is our research officer in the party and one of the founders, and my adopted mother. She has really, I would say Anne-Marie has given me some of the best guidance in the past 3 years. I mean, you're good, you and Philip and everybody else and the team. I love my team, but from a motherly and a knowledge perspective, she has really given me a lot of insight into this political world, and I thank you for that, Anne-Marie. You got a nice little love up there. But she did a post yesterday, boy, that it touched the souls of people, because it was so very, very real to what and who we should be as citizens. Unmisdirected hate, anger, and blame, all a very real part of the angst that grips the nation. Oh, and now we got a call coming. Y'all have some time in though. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Pep Talks.
I'm good. I have called to tell you, Paul is here to invite a neighbor, invite a friend, invite an enemy to spread this message, because the last 5 years is like 2,500 neighbors. And the next 5 years, it could be me, it could be you, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend. So we need to really protect our borders and stop the gun trade. So much as children continue to keep on listening every day. I go on Facebook, it's like some other girl child, boy child, some child going missing in the country. Yes, that is a child from Chicago, it's not secondary school went missing.
Yeah, no, but you're right. You're right.
Because like it could be me, it could be you, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend. So we need to spread this message and get this nation borders protected, because as long as the guns come from any country, the border will come down, because we don't have guns to run the shoot.
Correct. I mean, our Prime Minister had said a couple of years ago, we have 30,000 plus guns on the island. Philip said it yesterday, even on the last show. Where did he get that number from? Who was it that actually checked the guns coming into the shores of Trinidad and Tobago? Is that factual information, or is it just a number that he pulled out of the sky? Again, we want to have factual information, is why we do what we do. But outside of that, even not knowing for fact exactly how many guns is on the island of Trinidad and Tobago, what we need to do as a first measure is protect and secure the borders. So this way we don't have any more guns from whatever the number is presently on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. We don't have any more influx of guns, weapons, ammunition, or drugs coming into the shores of Trinidad and Tobago, where we now could put that resource that we have on the ground in sorting the issues that we are dealing with where crime is concerned on the ground of Trinidad and Tobago again. But well said, caller.
Oh, we lost him?
I think.
Yeah, you're probably listening offline.
Yeah.
Thank you for that contribution, caller. And I think I'll save this for after the break. I know you are leaving us after the first hour. Or are you staying?
I am supposed to leave.
You're
Yes.
supposed to leave.
I have another appointment. Unfortunately, Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes.
Tony. I think we had a really nice discussion.
It was a pleasure, definitely.
It was. See you here again tomorrow.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, we come back from the break with another guest, or maybe just me. We'll see. Bye. Well, for now.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
Trinidad and Tobago is in a crisis. For far too long, our people have been abused and silenced by our politicians and the business elite.
Just look around you. People are losing their jobs. Crime is at an all-time high. Our justice, education and health systems have failed.
We all know the truth behind all that is wrong in our country. Corruption is destroying us. Billions of our dollars are being looted by a small group of business people that use our politicians to divide and distract us.
So they can take what they want, leaving us with no hope for a better country.
All of this is because we've never had leaders who seek the interests of the citizenry as their first priority.
I am here because I'm not taking it anymore.
I am here because I am not taking it anymore.
I am fed up of politics as it is in Trinidad and Tobago.
It is time we elect leaders with the backbone and the love of our people to go after the corrupt, evil elements in our country, hell-bent on serving their own pockets while we suffer.
And it is time that we as a nation take a collective stand against wrongdoing.
So we are making a plea to the nation to rally behind us.
Because our freedom of speech is being threatened by those who don't want us speaking out on these issues.
A man that I greatly respect is one of those leaders fighting for a better country. His name is Philip Edward Alexander, and he has bravely challenged the people and institutions that are destroying our nation.
To date, he has been threatened with 5 lawsuits for having the courage to ask state agency UDCOT on why the renovations of the President's house cost $89 million.
When experts in the field have estimated that that job should have never crossed 20 million.
Where did the rest of our money go? We refuse to stand by and allow any agency to use our courts to try and silence and punish Philip or any other citizen of our country for trying to seek the truth.
If you're fed up of corruption and want to be a part of real change, support Philip and the Progressive Empowerment Party in this fight.
This fight is not for him or us to bear alone.
It is a fight for you, our loved ones and our friends.
It is a fight for the future of our country.
You can help by making a contribution to Philip's legal fees and help him and PEP expose the truth and shine light over the darkness of corruption. Go to our website at peptt.com, click on donate and see all the ways you can pitch in.
There is hope. Our country can be saved, but we all need to stand together. My name is Felicia Holder, Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party, and I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support.
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 I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
Hey! There we go!
Why did she hold it like that? Why did she hold it like that? The whole country in a hole.
same spot. Why? Traffic on the highway. Traffic on the highway. Organized crime. Disorganized crime. Everywhere you turn. Crime and more crime. White collar crime. Blue collar crime. No collar crime. We running out of time. No food in the pot. Why? Turn on the main road. Turn on the main road. 9 o'clock in the day. You can't see your way. Why? Traffic on the highway. Traffic on the highway. 9 o'clock on the dot. No food in the pot. Bills, bills, bills and more bills. Bills, bills, bills and more bills. Nothing to work. Nothing to work, nothing to work, nothing to work, nothing to work. $3 trillion spent, nothing to show. That's how it go in a land named Trinbago. Check this. Nothing to work, nothing to work, nothing to work, nothing to work.
We back. We are back. Well, slip into some lingo there. We are back, and I am here with Maurice. How do you pronounce your last name?
Downs,
yes. Maurice Downs, who is our head of mobilization in the Easter. Maurice is joining me as my co-host in the second hour, and we have just a little over 50 minutes to keep entertaining the people of Trinidad and Tobago this morning. We are still taking calls. If you're calling, call on 347-4737. We will take your calls live on air. Before I go back into reading the paragraph that I wanted to read from Anne-Marie Doolal, our women's arm of the Progressive Empowerment Party is having their Valentine's Day sale of roses for all of our PEP men who would like to purchase roses for their significant others, their friends, their family. You can order a rose, submit your orders at our offices. You have until tomorrow. Tomorrow is the deadline. The flyer is online, but I'm calling the numbers that you can reach out to if you would like to get a rose. It's 316-0015. That's 316-0015. 347-8239. 347-8239. And 752-3172. That number again, 752-3172. If you want to know the price, a single rose is $50 and a triple bouquet of roses, it's $150. You can get red, orange, yellow, peach, and white, any of those colors. So all our PEP men, all of our viewers who, you know, your last minute, you know, you haven't gotten her or him that Valentine's Day present yet, you can order your rose through the Woman's Arm. Check our Facebook page for the flyer and place your orders with any of the numbers that I called out earlier. Maurice, how are you doing this morning?
I good. Here for another early show. Getting up was a little bit easier this morning.
This is not is you normally.
Yeah, normally I do jump out no bed at 4. Probably I'll get up at about 5:30, 6.
Yes, because he's coming
from Tunapuna side.
Coming with the traffic.
Yeah, so it amazes me that at 5 o'clock, 5:15, the traffic already starts to build up coming into Port of Spain. But I guess, as Philip is saying, do whatever You hell you like land when everybody had to come to one location to work. We had to just,
That's where you get the traffic congestion.
we had to grind
And the
that.
thing is, though, because I've experienced it a few times coming from the east into Port of Spain, or even from south or central, there's literally a magic period where you can either be in a light amount of traffic
Correct.
and end up in a heavy amount of traffic, and that difference could be literally 10 to 15 minutes. I have experienced leaving at 5 versus 5:15, 5:30, and it's a complete difference. And it whereas it would take you 30 minutes to 45 minutes, it end up taking you an hour and a half. And I do envy the people who have to come from the east. Luckily, I have always worked every job I had, it was either in Port of Spain or against the traffic, like going to Chaguanas or something like that. Lucky me, because I can't. Traffic is not something I can sit through every day.
Indeed.
Anyway, so back to the post that I tried to read earlier, and again, we still taking your calls at 347-4737. On misdirected hate, anger, and blame, all a very real part of the angst that grips the nation. Listener, it ain't that black man that is causing your grief. It ain't the Indian man either. It is not your fellow citizen. You, I, she, and all the rest of us need to learn that we are the ones suffering because of poor governance. We. It's not them people neither, it's we. You can't get water in your taps. He is not safe in his neighborhood. She was beaten up in school. And after that article that we read with that 16-year-old, was very prevalent, very pertinent, sorry. She was beaten up in school. The bandits broke into my home. His car hit a pothole and spun out of control, killing 5 others. She lost her baby at the hospital. Mama sat on the floor of the hospital trying to revive her son who was having a heart attack. This is us. You, me, he, she. This is not your government ministers. Just you, me, he, and she. And until and when you understand that, this is what you can expect. You can also expect it to get worse. Stop fighting down your fellow citizens. The Progressive Empowerment Party says one people. Do you all understand the significance of that? We are Trinidadians. We are Tobagonians. We are Trinidad and Tobago. Do not let your politicians divide you, divide us. When they do that, you lose. When they do that, they get to increase their pensions and remunerations while your salary remains stagnant. When they do that, your healthcare suffers. When they do that, your safety is at risk. It is time to shake off the shackles of our past politics and embrace a new genre of politics, no? One that looks after our people. All our people. It is time to start being Trinidadians and Tobagonians. It is time to understand you have been used to pursue the agendas of the politicians and their friends, families, and financiers, and to understand that only you can change that. It is time.
Indeed.
You saw that post yesterday?
And one of the things that still amazed me is that the citizenry of this nation could see the tumultuous life that we live and we experience daily. So from my little understanding, that should be enough to shake you and wake you up into realizing that if you want to call it abuse, let us then start to change direction of it, because again, insanity could be simply defined as doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So as a result, we could do something differently, try something differently. We have tried 2 options in the past consistently, and it bears no real fruit, no real benefit. So
no, you're very right with that, and just like Anne-Marie said in this article, it's not them, it's us. And our head of the women's arm, Limma McLeod Wilkinson, she put out a post yesterday, and she's a public servant herself, and she advocates very strongly for the rights of other public servants, and I believe a couple of them are in turmoil. I saw PTSC was striking the other day. I know PSA had their strike as well, and I believe fire. Some of the associations they're having a lot of issues as it pertains to delivering public service, and what they get in exchange for that. And she said it, and it's so simple how she said it, but I don't think it resonates and registers with other people, which is that government ministers, they don't have to beg for their salaries.
True.
I don't think that buildings being rented to government ministers and their friends and their families, I don't think that they have to run down the state for their money. So why is it that we're doing that to public servants, the people who are basically in charge of maintaining and keeping the country on the footing that it is and keeping us running? And it's unfair. Like Anne-Marie said, it's not their remunerations that going down it's not their money that is being impacted. It's ours. True. It's yours, it's mine, it's his, and while we fighting each other, they are literally running off with the pot.
The cat running away with the spoon.
The cat running away with the spoon, and it's sad because there's so much infighting amongst us, and it's so easy. I see Trinbagonians trigger so easy, and it gets me real upset because I feel like at this point we should be able to recognize what their agenda is. We should be able to recognize that it's just another way of keeping us back, keeping us divided. Nobody is ever going to go after the real threat when you're seeing each other as a threat, and we're not. You are not my threat. Cameraman there, Satish is not my threat.
Yeah.
My worst enemy right now is not my threat. The threat to citizens are those who are responsible and in charge of our well-being, and who are not putting that first, who are not taking that into consideration.
And just to even take a sidebar, because it would be still on topic with what you're saying, for those, so when I reach out to people as well, for those who say that politics don't affect their way of living or way of life, I would ask them to think about, what do you think governs the cost of food in the grocery, the price of gas at the pumps, your capacity to get water in your pipe? And as much as we believe we could externalize our power onto another entity, we are saying that to say, when it is you not hold the government to account for their actions over the years that has been pervading, and nobody pulling them back in line, the cat running away with the spoon once again.
Nobody, not them. There are no internal checks and balances to make sure people are held accountable and responsible. But worst of all is that we are not holding them accountable. And when I hear people say those same things, that the Prime Minister didn't put the gun in his hand, and the Minister of National Security didn't stab the woman. No, but they made it so that, or not that they made it, but well, yes, in the case of the borders and not securing it, they made it so that guns and drugs and the reason behind all of the crime in the country, they made it so that it continues, and they made it so that there's no proper social development. There's nothing addressing the core and fundamental reasons behind poverty and behind crime, which, well, as we see, is a broken social system, and we're not trying to rectify or fix it. And then we see crime happening later. I spoke about it earlier in the progression of the child. If you can follow the three separate stories that we look at, you literally see from birth to death how we handle and treat with the most vulnerable in society, who then come back and are the monsters that we are afraid of. The same people that we left behind, the same people that we say bad, the same people that we ignored, end up being the same people to most likely come and put that gun to our heads and say, give me a car, give me a wallet. And we, in terms of holding our governments accountable, I believe we are, if anything I want our citizens to get from the Progressive Empowerment Party is that system of holding people accountable, because you can't complain that you don't have water and then have nobody to raise the issue with.
Yeah. There is a sense of helplessness, in terms of addressing issues, because when you ask yourself, who could I go to for recourse that would act on my behalf?
We tend to feel like there is nobody, but not only do we tend to feel like there is nobody, if you ever had to experience the system, there are times nobody that you can go to, because you call and you call around, we get in another call, you call around, you can answer, and nothing is happening. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to find out what is going on with our pitch list. Because Trinidad have a pitch list and no road has been fixed for the longest while.
I'll answer you offline, right? Okay. I want to find out what happened with our pitch lake too. I think that is the $1 million question in this country, because every budget reading you hear nothing.
Where does the money
Crickets.
go?
Yet if you go down to the pitch lake this morning, you're gonna see activity happening. You're gonna see them mining for the pitch, if that's the term that they use.
Alright,
Are we getting another call? Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
How's she going?
Okay. Call if that was you. You can call back. We will take your call live. But back to that pitch lake question, I have no idea. And it is, I was thinking the other day when I was driving down, was it French Street? I was driving down French Street, and something was different. Something was off, and I couldn't put my, and before I was about to say I couldn't put my finger on it, but within, like, it registered to me, the road, I'm not going down in any potholes, and I'm not, and the regular, because we so programmed now to know, we know our potholes now, potholes are like our familiar neighborhood friends right now, because we know which ones to duck, we know which ones to avoid. That's why the worst thing is when a new pothole appear that we weren't expecting.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I just want to make a comment on the show.
Sure.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, good morning. A pleasant good morning to you, Felicia, and to Maurice.
Yes, hi.
I just didn't know that I'm here enjoying the show right now. I am so glad to know that we now have a choice where we can have our country where we want it. You know, for the past years I've been looking and seeing that both the UNC and the PNN, they are just head and tail of the same coin, right? And I think there are a lot of people like me that, you know, we are glad that we have a choice now, right? The PEP is now in progress, and I think that thus far the party is going well, and you know, I have had a chance to look at some of your policies, and I think that they are really, really good, right? I always say there are two areas in this country that if they address, you know, it can alleviate some of the problems, and I will call them. The first area is if they protect our borders. I always ask myself, Why is it that we have supposedly smart people in this country who are supposed to be our leaders and they're not protecting our borders? That is the first question I always ask myself. The second one, I look at the fact that we have a lot of families right now under pressure. Why aren't they, trying to why aren't they trying to deal with the situation, the social structure of the country, right? They talk about crime. We have a lot of crime in the country, and nothing is being done about the crime. But look at the social structure. We have people living in dilapidated conditions. We have mothers crying, right? No sustainable jobs. Why aren't they dealing with these things? Why aren't they doing that? And then they talk about crime. Crime would not stop unless these areas are dealt with. And that is why I'm glad that we have true representation now through the PEP. And my aim and all those that are close and around me, I encourage them to work along with the PEP because now we have true representation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, caller.
She was so spot on there.
Spot on. And that is the quality of people who join and are part of the Progressive Empowerment Party. She explained it so very simply. Two things that that governments, past and present, have not addressed. Not because I'm sure a lot of them don't know how to, but they don't have the will to, which is to secure our borders and deal with the root cause of crime, which is poverty that is that is inflicted on the nation. But back to the Pitch Lake question. Like I was saying, I was driving on the road, and the thing that hit me was that the road smooth, it paved.
Surprising.
And I felt excited, like this is what smooth road feels like. Because honestly, I cannot remember the last time I drove on a piece of road and just heard silence.
But I may have some bad news for you, because if Wassa find out where that road is,
Wassa, that road is not. Or did I say the streets? I did. Let's not remind Wassa of the streets, because I can't risk them compromising my one piece of paved happiness in this country right now. And it's so sad that a piece of paved road is considered a privilege.
When we have a Pitch Lake.
When we have a Pitch Lake, a Progressive Empowerment Party, should we ever grace the halls of government, would be looking into, and we have another call coming in.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. How are you all doing?
We're good this morning.
So that lady that just called, just to answer a part of her question. The reason why they're not doing anything to fix the health system, to fix the roads, to improve the quality of your life, to improve the value of the money in your pocket, because I think what a lot of us in this country, well, now I think more of us are actually recognizing it and understanding it. But the government, those people in power who pretend to care, who pretend to have some sort of love in their heart for the average man and woman, they actually do. Because if it did, this would be, as Philip said, this would be the safest country in the world. We would have the strongest economy. The roads would be the best. Because, you're always talking about the Pitch Lake. You can't tell me we have the biggest Pitch Lake in the world, one of two, and we have the worst roads in the world. Come on. That doesn't make no sense.
So correct.
Even the man with the littlest amount of education or common sense tell you that, partners, if you have sand in your yard and some cement, you should be able to make all concrete and fix a hole.
I love that analogy.
So you can't tell me we have a Pitch Lake that is so vast, and we have the money, we have the equipment to fix the road. So it's just obvious that they don't care. And as the lady was saying, I think it's about time that we actually had real representation. We had people who came from normal backgrounds like you and I, or who are well educated, that actually are willing to take the chance and risk their lives in this mad country to help the average citizen. It's about time, and as the saying goes, night does run until they catch it. I think we are done. Because I can't see this country going on for another 5 years in the same way. We need the PEP, and I think you all, everything happens in time, and this is, I believe, the perfect time. Yeah, the perfect time would have been 5 or 10 years ago, but it just happened that way. So now, I think we really have to make use of this opportunity because we have one dream chance. So we have to take this chance. And I hope that the population really embraces the message that PEP gives, the hard work that you all do each and every day, because I know it is not easy. I was watching a live with Philip last night, and he was talking about the amount of work and the amount of hours of live talk that you all do.
Yeah.
It's really commendable, and it's not easy. So thanks, and I really hope that the country takes this opportunity to move to a brighter day and a brighter future.
Thank you for that, caller.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Getting some nice endorsements this morning, and I do want to add to everybody who is calling in and everybody who may be watching and does believe in the PEP and what we do. At some level, I really encourage you to get involved. I always tell people, you don't have to be a frontline person. You don't have to come and do a show like this, even though Maurice got pulled in. But there are so many ways that you can support even behind the scenes. And we have a joke in here that if we were to have a party called Behind the Scenes, we definitely have a big, huge, we take over the country. Because a lot of people, for so many reasons, most being the fear of political victimization, are afraid to step forward into the light like that. And I was thinking about that last night, and that it's so sad that, and frustrating. I think frustrating for me is also the word, that Trinidad is one of the few countries that I see where people are so afraid of their politics. They avoid it like the plague. Whereas in other developed nations, well, not just developed nations, look at Barbados, look at how they rose to the occasion and banded together to overthrow their last government, which was not working for the country, which was not performing. And in the United States of America, there's no such thing as I can't be politically involved. You tell an American to ignore his rights. No, you tell him to not be involved. And I mean, of course, there are those who are not involved in the politics, but for the most part, they understand that in order to get the things that they want and in order to get the country to work in the way that they want it to work, you have to be involved. And if this option is not working for you, you have to continue trying until you find something. And like the both callers said, for the first time in the history of the country, and I say that without fear of contradiction, for the first time in the history of the country, we have a government that is not only talking about the things that we have all wondered about, like the pitch leak and why the borders are not secured and why has no government addressed crime and poverty holistically. What was I saying?
Talking about the government.
For the first time, we have a political party that is not just talking these things, but it's telling you how we're going to do it, how we plan to do it. And that 100%, 1,000% sets us aside, because it's easy to talk and say, and people, I mean, they've challenged me with that in the past. This one say that and that one say that, but when they go in, it's the same thing I say. But have they ever told you how?
I think we have become accustomed to a country where it is easier for someone to speak, because many of us have all the verbal answers to the solutions, but very few are willing to beat that wheel, grind it, to really put that into motion. And I guess that is what is separate, if you want to say, the sheep from the goat. So from my view, the PP again, and me getting to know about them has been the only party that I have seen, if you want to call it, rise out of the trenches and not just speak, from my understanding, simple solutions to serious problems we have, but also be willing to walk that walk number. And I know being in it, because looking from his side, and I didn't think it would have been this hard, but
we made it look easier.
Make it look easier because you're watching it on Facebook, but being in it, it's a lot of work.
The biggest job in all of this and the biggest hurdle is to get this message across to people, get into their minds, get them to understand that their politics will only get better if they get involved. And like I was saying earlier, you don't have to be a frontline person and you don't have to be a big donor, but you're having a meeting in your constituency, come out, support, donate. We have a call coming in. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, concerning the topic of the pitch lake, wasn't the pitch lake leased to the Chinese by the UNC government?
That's the thing though. There's no clear guideline or no clear outline of what exactly were the terms of that lease, because it's not available anywhere. There's no information coming into the public space on whether or not that lease is still in existence. There's no information on how much money we are getting in exchange for that. And there's a lot of rumors surrounding the fact that we may have already sold the pitch lake to the Chinese government. Again, these things are birthed from the fact that we have no clear information coming out on this resource that we have as a country.
Well, you see, the thing about that is the past government has always kept the citizens of this country focused on oil and gas. And oil and gas is being discovered all over the world now. We have it in abundance. Saudi Arabia could flood the market tomorrow if they want and bring down the price of oil and gas to nil. And nobody is really paying attention to the pitch lake. Trinidad and Tobago has the only pitch lake in the world. Oil and gas is being found all over the place now. And every developing country is part of their basic infrastructure is roads. But according to you, this is being kept secretly under the carpet, and everybody keep putting oil and gas on the front burner to keep people's attention away from the pitch lake. So somebody is making tons of money off of this, and as normal, Uncle Dory, Trinidad, whatever is whatever. PNM till we dead, UNC till we dead.
But no, it can't be like that though, and I know you're calling in on this program because you're not happy with that situation, and we have to be the ones to tell people, no, it can't be PNM till you're dead and UNC till you're dead, because guess what, while you're doing that, like Maurice said, the dish run away with the spoon, and literally China or whoever is running away with our pitch lake.
Well, Gail, let me tell you, up till last night, I attended a birthday party of a relative of mine, and every opportunity I get in meeting people, I try to spread the word of the people. I joined you all march to the Red House the other day. I just try, but you know, a lot of people, a lot of Chinese, oh my God, they're so programmed. You know, some big people, I wouldn't call any names, I met with last night, they asked me, well, who is the PP? And people who heard you all speak, some of them even said, I heard them, and they can't talk. So I looked at them and said, so that's all they like. Or they like talk, and that's what politicians give all their politicians give the people talk, and that's what people want to hear, talk. You know what? We fed up with talk. 57 years of talk, and talking carry us anywhere. Okay?
Correctly said. You said it. Couldn't say it any better.
Based on my part, I'm trying to help you all in the field. You all really have all your work cut out for you. And
we have our work cut out.
Yes, a big part of it is that you all not getting the exposure on the public media. If you all could only get your foot in the door there, boy, well, all hell break loose. You all have a good day.
Thank Thank you very much. And this is why we created our own media, our own space to get this message out. And I mean, if I ever had to meet Mark Zuckerberg, I would not only shake his hand but give him a hug and say, Mark, thanks for that platform, because without it, I think Trinidad would be a very dark and frustrating place.
Yeah.
It would be, because, I mean, apart from the fact that Facebook is where people take to vent a lot of their frustrations and all of that, it is now a source of information in a way that we have not seen it in the past 5, even 10 years, well, as far back as 10 years ago. And I like I said, I have to be very thankful for it, because just like you, Marie, just like that caller and the caller before and the caller before that, I fed up and I was looking. I couldn't believe, after watching one party in office, because when my first election that I could vote for was the Kamala Prasad administration, when we had the Kamala Prasad administration. And at the time, being rooted and caught up in tribal politics, I voted for PNM. But I didn't tell anybody this, because, again, being caught up and rooted in tribal politics, I was actually optimistic when Kamala Prasad won, because I had seen, at the point in time when I was getting knowledgeable about our politics, was when the Manning administration was coming to its end. And I was like, this is what politics is like, because I'd always like pushed that away, like many typical Trinbagonians. And when I saw what it was about, I said, well, okay, I mean, I guess I'll vote PNM. But when PNM didn't win, I was actually happy when Kamala had a chance. I said, as a woman, as a new party, let's give them a try. Again, I kept this to myself, because being caught up in the whole drama of being, I guess, assigned to a political party, because I thought I had to be. I didn't want people to know. But that's when I started to feel my first sense of frustration, because I was saying, but I was willing to give this woman a try. I was willing to give her government a try, and they let me down tremendously. So then I had another opportunity to vote, and I voted PNM again, this time saying I really need to get Kamala out. And I mean, that's what we do. We always vote out the incumbent government. We never vote in a new government. And when Keith Rowley won again, I was happy and hopeful and optimistic. But not even the color of my skin, or the fact that I come from a PNM household, and not, thankfully, not one where it's a PNM till I dead kind of household, but one where they grew up supporting the PNM. Not even that could save this Rowley administration, because within the first 2-3 months, I was let down, I was disappointed, and I was hurt, and I was heartbroken, because here I was again being willing and being optimistic to give a new political party, not just a new political party, but give a whole new cabinet a try, because Keith Rowley was a difference from Manning. I said maybe he could be different, and didn't heed the warnings of him being a region bull. And here we are, 5 years in, and another same story, same kind of disappointment.
My journey was a little bit different, because I didn't really become politically aware until I started to hear Philip, because I mean, life for me has always been pretty alright, not golden spoon, but because I'm not a complainer or a person who like too many extravagant things, I'm like, you know what, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But politics started to ticker in my mind when I started to try to see if I could own my own home then. So try to attain funds to build, and
Yeah.
And I started to realize how hard it was for at least my generation, and even the generation before me, I could say, how difficult it is for them to start a life.
Yeah.
And questions would just go through my mind, like, so is this something that is deliberately done? Because you would have the people who have the means, everybody, we moved into what you call our renting culture. And these things, keep saying to myself, well, then what is the point of government? Because if it is, we give them the authority basically to look over the affairs of our nation. And the reason why I'm saying is our nation, because once you're born here, you're entitled to the resources that come from this land.
We are.
So you could see that we're getting a foreign call actually. Hello, good morning.
Morning. Is this the live program that's going on in Trinidad right now?
Yes, sir.
It is, yes. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I'm calling from Philadelphia.
Oh, Philly in the house.
Good morning. Yeah, and I just want you all to know that it's really a good you're all doing a very good job.
Oh, thank you for
I
that.
say I must call in to say that, and I want the people of Trinidad and Tobago to know that the PEP party is the party to vote for. They are the only party that can bring back the country. I want everybody in Trinidad and Tobago to know that. Come out of the dark and come into the light and vote for the PEP party. You all have a nice day.
Thank you very much for that, caller.
Okay.
Caller, if you are, well, you said you're in Philadelphia. I hope you are involved with one of our overseas teams. We have our New York chapter. You can reach out to Denise Xavier Superville on Facebook. If you're not involved, find a way to get involved, because our overseas team members are some of our strongest. Yesterday we had a visitor from the New York chapter, Michael Alonso. Thank you much for coming and gracing us with your presence. Last week or 2 weeks ago we had some Toronto members. The head of the Toronto chapters, Joan Sinanan and Anthony Sinanan, Daniel Ishmael, I believe, came in, Suchan as well. We have a lot of strong peppers who are based overseas, who believe in what we're doing, because they have been exposed to what a country that works feels like, and they know we deserve so much better. So for the Trinis here who comfortable, or who have not comfortable, but because this is not comfort, but who have grown accustomed to the mess, talk to somebody on the outside and they will tell you how a country that works should look and feel like. They will tell you, and don't just take our word for it. Travel if you can't have that opportunity. Google, look. The internet is literally there for everybody to see what a country that works feels like, and I don't want to say it in a way that it comes across that other countries don't have their problems, because I know that's one of the first defenses that people use. America not perfect, Canada not, and they're not. But if you compare the lives of the citizens there and the well-being of the citizens there to the lives and the well-being of the citizens here, it's two stark differences. I was watching when I was in Canada, I saw some homeless people, and I was actually, and there's something I do. When I travel, I try to I compare where I am to where I come from. Yeah. And I used to do it from the angle of Trinidad not so bad, and trying to make allowances for some things. I'm like, oh look, they have a pothole too. Mind you, that's one pothole in about 50 mile stretch of road as compared to 10 potholes every 2 miles. Or less, but I would usually compare it to make myself feel better about our circumstances, but there is no comparison, because even the homeless people, when I saw them, I was like, oh look, Canada has homeless people too. However, they're not in the deplorable conditions that you see those residents in Independence Square or in Riverside Plaza. Some of them sleeping in their own mess, haven't had baths in weeks, if not longer. They're not, and how the conditions of those citizens, those homeless people as they are right now, is such a terrible but accurate reflection of how we consider our citizens. And like I said, even homelessness, it happens everywhere, is not as bad as it is here, and as people experiencing here back home in Trinidad.
But also it's not even about perfection in terms of when you do the comparison. It's just that we could do better because there is room for better. So if you want to use an example of what better is, at one point in time, well, I could tell you when I had internet, it used to be a dial-up slow connection.
Remember those days?
Now we have moved over into what you call fiber connection, and that is the best so far. So that for those who like to say, well, you know, other people suffer or have these problems too, it's not about striving to be perfect. We could just improve our standard of living for everybody, and that's how simple it really is.
I like that dial-up analogy, and it's so true, because we should never be striving to match the lowest denominator. You should always strive for the best.
Something better.
And it points to how, I guess, how citizens view their self-worth and how they view what they are entitled to, and that's a word that we don't use much in this country, and we need to get bold and comfortable using it. I am entitled to drive on smooth roads.
Yeah.
I am entitled to have water
24/7
in my pipes 24/7.
Because one of the things that amazed me, and Akil was giving me this joke the other day. So Wassa owns all of the water that is on the land, right? So that you're paying Wassa for a service, right? It's every quarterly. So Akil was saying that, well then, if it is I only get water 2 days a week, then I should pay the representative proportion of it, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't jump in a maxi from Arima to Port of Spain and the driver tell you, well, you had to get out in Tuna Puna. You're paying for a service. So the excuse that some people would rationalize for Wassa, if it is a pain you to get water all the time, I should get it all the time. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Maurice.
Morning.
Good morning, Felicia.
Morning.
Yes, what they someone walk about in Mayaro. Yes, I was there. Being fishermen, and then they get so much fish in Mayaro, boy. And then come more and export fish. And did you see how up there he is?
Yeah.
Walking through there. And the kind of people that have very intelligent people up in that side of the youth. And we need to encourage them about exporting our fish, because this is a way the people in Mayaro could make income. I don't know if it's country, if the government encourages them in importing their fish, exporting their fish, or what they could do, because if real fish are being catch up there.
True. Very true.
That's true. Actually, we had Collie still there. Oh, I guess he listen up. I remember when back in 2018, time is really flying. We visited some fishermen in the Toko Sandy Grande area, more to the Toko side, and they were lamenting just how neglected the fishing industry is, and I know it extends to Mayaro as well, where we have
most rural areas.
And that is because oil and gas not touching them. I mean, yes, Mayaro is the hub for the oil and gas sector, you can say, but there are those who are not involved in that industry, and those who have to find other means of living. Not everybody could be a offshore worker. True. Not everybody could be an engineer or plant operator. There are people who survive and rely on means of earning income, such as fishing, and I remember the fishermen, they were complaining that their boats were being vandalized, that there were no proper I guess regulations in terms of fishing, and no support really from the government in terms of boosting and regulating that industry. And it goes on again to show how lack of political will, how it has impacted the citizens of this country. And if anything, I would want citizens to be encouraged about is that this government, at least once I am involved in this effort, and I know many can say this for themselves, you, Marie, Satish, Philip, everybody would say this. Once we are involved, I know that we would be actively trying to really do what we say we want to do. And I know I, for one, I'm gone if this ever turns into anything like what we have experienced before, because I got involved in this because I want change. I was looking for change and I was prepared to be a part of that change. It can't be the same old.
True.
And I tell people who join the party, you can't come and you can't approach the PEP with a PNM and a UNC mindset. You need to wipe that slate clean and start over. And start over from first understanding that we deserve better. Yeah.
You gotta want it for yourself.
You have to want it and demand it. Like I say, you deserve and you are entitled to have water in your pipe. You deserve and you are entitled to feel safe in your community. You deserve and you are entitled to send your children to any school and feel that they are safe. You don't have to fight up or bribe or pay a fee to get one to go Providence or St. France or SAGs or bishops, only for them to get stabbed on the outside by some other student who had nothing to do or wasn't even a part of their school. We deserve so much better.
But even just to touch on what the gentleman was saying with my arrow, one of the things that struck me now, boy, because driving down there, I really started to notice the vast amount of land space that is just growing grass and trees.
Yep.
The PEP advocates planting, doing the avocado, the breadfruit. We have enough land in Trinidad alone so that we could give people of Mayaro, develop them into the agriculture industry and export these things, fix the roads for them, give them something to do, because you see, the people who support the two other parties would say we have a gimme mentality, but this is the mentality that they have created, because when you don't give people that vehicle or that space where they could be self-sufficient, and you always have them on a handout and need to depend on the government for something, you mold that kind of mentality, but give them hope and opportunity.
And empower them.
That's it. And they wouldn't really need you.
Opportunity and empowerment.
They would be able to do for themselves.
They would be able to do a fish. Give a man a fish, he eat for a day.
That's
Teach
right.
a man to fish.
And that is what the PEP advocates.
A lifetime.
Teaching a man how to fish.
Maurice, it's 7:59. I can't believe
wow,
that time flew. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me on another and third episode of Plain Talk in the Morning.
No problem.
Is that the official name, Plain Talk in the Morning? I like that. I think it should be not plain. This is Pep Talk. Pep Talks in the morning. Plain Talk is what we do, what we air in the nighttime. Any closing comments before we sign out?
Well, another closing comment. It would kind of reference what the one I made Monday. Trinidad, this is your opportunity to make a choice for you now, boy. PEP is just a vehicle that would get you to that better place, because for those who have been paying attention to us, we could never be classed as a PNM or UNC setup, because we're trying to do this with our bare hands, fighting, grinding, reaching out, interacting with the people at all levels that we could. So the ball is in your court. You make the choice.
Very well said. Trinidad and Tobago, thank you again for joining us for another episode. This entire week we're going to be changing gas, feeling out the set, feeling out everything. It's a whole week of testing, and I think just me and the guests and the other hosts getting comfortable in the new studio setup, as well as with the new format of the show. So we will be testing and troubleshooting things as they come. Thank you very much for staying with us for the past 2 hours. Thank you to all of our callers this morning, and we will see you again for another episode of Pep Talks in the Morning tomorrow at 6. Trinidad and Tobago is in a crisis. For far too long, our people have been abused and silenced by our politicians and the business elite.
Just look around you. People are losing their jobs. Crime is at an all-time high. Our justice, education, and health systems have failed.
We all know the truth behind all that is wrong in our country. Corruption is destroying us. Billions of our dollars are being looted by a small group of business people that use our politicians to divide and distract us.
So they can take what they want, leaving us with no hope for a better country.
All of this is because we've never had leaders who seek the interests of the citizenry as their first priority.
I am here because I'm not taking it anymore.
I am here because I am not taking it anymore.
I am fed up of politics as it is in Trinidad and Tobago.
It is time we elect leaders with the backbone and the love of our people to go after the corrupt, evil elements in our country, hell-bent on serving their own pockets while we suffer.
And it is time that we as a nation take a collective stand against wrongdoing.
So we are making a plea to the nation to rally behind us.
Because our freedom of speech is being threatened by those who don't want us speaking out on these issues.
A man that I greatly respect is one of those leaders fighting for a better country. His name is Philip Edward Alexander, and he has bravely challenged the people and institutions that are destroying our nation.
To date, he has been threatened with 5 lawsuits for having the courage to ask state agency UDCOT on why the renovations of the President's house cost $89 million.
When experts in the field have estimated that that job should have never crossed 20 million.
Where did the rest of our money go?
We refuse to stand by and allow any agency to use our courts to try and silence and punish Philip or any other citizen of our country for trying to seek the truth.
If you're fed up of corruption and want to be a part of real change, support Philip and the Progressive Empowerment Party in this fight.
This fight is not for him or us to bear alone.
It is a fight for you, our loved ones, and our friends.
It is a fight for the future of our country.
You can help by making a contribution to Philip's legal fees and help him and PEP expose the truth and shine light over the darkness of corruption.
Go to our website at peptt.com, click on donate and see all the ways you can pitch in.
There is hope. Our country can be saved, but we all need to stand together. My name is Felicia Holder, Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party, and I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support. I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.